teacher go to school?
And here's your
What do you think of what's going on right now, mate?
These evil little invisible parasites.
Satan-worshipping Freemason moron.
Do you understand what I'm saying?
We're not run by factions.
Get the fuck out of camera!
There are much more powerful international forces in play.
Is this pink eye? Is this what pink eye is? I don't fucking know what's happening.
Please go outside and look at the moon quickly.
It's been crazy, guys, but guess what? It's how it is, mate.
Mate, because I want to do you slowly.
But I ain't spending any time on it.
Well, g'day, patrons, and welcome to our Black Label. We've been recording these on a fairly regular basis for your benefit, and it's where we get into dig deep into a few things and get a bit loud, get a bit sweary, because we know it's only you guys that are listening. And we're going to kick off with the big story around the world at the moment, the Iran war, and there's a terrible sense of, you're watching a really bad sequel here.
Yes.
That we've seen this movie before number of times.
Objectively speaking.
Where the US engages militarily in the Middle East without A, an exit strategy, B, a regime change strategy, other than to tell the Iranians, just go and run at those people with all the guns.
Just do it, mate. Don't worry about it. It'll be fine.
You'll be fine. You'll be fine. And no refugee strategy and no alliance strategy with nations in the ME. It has been said many times, and we are getting a blinding glimpse of the obvious now, that air power alone, be it ballistic missiles, drone attacks or fighter jets, even with precision striking ability, cannot bring about regime change. So the question is, what are the objectives?
It'll be fine, mate. We'll just arm the Kurds and they'll do it. And, they're fine.
and then we'll betray them again. Yeah,
exactly. They totally trust us. So, look, the war is expanding throughout the region. I think a lot of people will know this, but Hezbollah and the IDF are having a bit of a tussle over in southern Lebanon, which is not a part of Iran. And they're instructing the Lebanese in South Lebanon to evacuate. The Israelis are just saying, hey, can you leave your land? Don't worry, we won't steal it. It's not Palestine. It's fine.
Look, the Lebanese government is actually opposed to Hezbollah.
Oh, they must have the shits.
Hezbollah controls particularly southern Lebanon and has for a very long time. A mate of mine flew into Beirut about a year ago, and he said, look, this is what you do. The first checkpoint that you get to beyond the airport before you come into Beirut is a Hezbollah checkpoint.
Great.
Look, I understand Israel's objectives in Iran, but I don't understand American objectives. And we'll talk about that a bit more. But go on, Joel.
So basically, look, that is an important detail, I think, which is that Lebanon is not part of Iran. So when we say it's a war in Iran, and then people say on the other side it's World War III. Well, it's not World War III. I mean, we're not there yet. That's fine. Yet is an operative word. But it is a bit of a Middle Eastern conflict, and it does expand out into these other places. Now,
it is a regional conflict. We can safely say that now.
Yeah, I'm happy to call it the Iran war for lack of a better term, but, this is what's going on. Now, one thing to clarify is that the IRGC and Hezbollah are mates. They do work together. This is a bit of a thing. They've been a tryst for a while. Basically, I like to put Israel in a sort of geographical sort of death sandwich where they just sort of lob things from either side and hope the Iron Dome shits itself. And it's not really working, but I'm sure it's making Israel slightly tired. Israel are very good at this, though, and they've been just pummeling the shit out of Lebanon. And unfortunately, we're just seeing it turn into a mess. Well, yeah, exactly, yeah. But Iran's meant to be like, the fucking belle of the ball. But Lebanon's the nicely dressed girl who's edging her way in.
Beautiful part of the world.
Yeah.
It's a great shame. Beirut is one of the world's great cities, certainly one of the great cities in the ME. Bit of Paris about it all. On the beach, and very, very lovely. But of course, it's just been devastated by a series of military strikes and one own goal with the explosion of a bunch of phosphates in their harbour.
Yeah, fuck, that was rough. Yeah, it was deeply unpleasant. So, look, it does seem like an expanding conflict, but it could expand into that World War III territory because we have got the backup squad of China and Russia. And are they going to throw their weight behind Iran? We don't really know. Now, of course, these both are members of BRICS.
Lots of eyes in there.
BRICS. Yeah, there's so many fucking eyes. I don't even know what they are. India, Iran.
Indonesia.
Indonesia, yeah.
Iran. That's 3.
In Becky
I think there are any
Stan.
more. I
Yeah.
don't think there are any more, but that's 3.
There's like a million. But look, this is like a serious powerhouse. They're an alternative economic grouping to rival the sort of G8, G7 grouping. I mean, like, even if it's just the letters, the ones that start with I, I'm still challenging. There's nuclear powers in there, of course. So it's entirely possible, because Trump is a fool who is surrounded by idiots, that this is like, it's not going to go well. And this is the major difference between his first and second terms, because he used to have smart people, and now he has a cabinet filled with yes men and charlatans who like really do not know what the fuck they're doing.
They think they do, which
They
is
do
even
think
worse.
the confidence level is
Even
off the chain.
worse.
Look at Hegseth.
Delusions of grandeur and
just
whatever.
drunk on lobster and just saying shit.
And Alaskan crab.
Yeah.
How many millions of dollars did he spend on that? I can't remember.
Yeah, it adds up to billions anyway. What a crook idiot.
Look, just in regard to the BRIC stuff, look, that's an economic grouping, but when Russia's been making some very, very belligerent sounds around the Iran war, there was also a strike a Ukrainian strike deep into Russian territory yesterday at a drone manufacturing factory.
Okay.
And the Russians said none of this would have been. They claimed it was an attack on their citizens, and the citizens or civilians were killed.
Something Russia would never do.
Yeah. You just can't believe what they say. But
Yeah.
but what was really pertinent to me was that they said this would not have been possible without the support of the UK. So this is saber rattling at a fairly high rate. Anyway, back to Iran and questioning how did this happen? You know, the nexus between the Trump admin and Netanyahu's has been too close. I mean, US presidents since Bill Clinton, and probably earlier, but at least Bill Clinton have been exhorted to launch a war against Iran by Netanyahu. He was prime minister when Clinton was president, so that's how long Benjamin goes back. And pretty much every POTUS from Clinton on, including Trump in his first term, and everyone said, no, we're not doing that. It's way too dangerous. We do not want to poke that country with a stick because of all sorts of problems.
So many problems.
Big, scary, unforeseeable problems that we're sort of starting to get a bit of a glimpse at now. The prevailing view is that Netanyahu courted Jared Kushner, who's Trump's son-in-law, of course, and made the argument that since the US bombing raids of nuclear facilities in Iran in June, the regime was at a weak point and vulnerable to attack. Question is, how does this fit with Trump and MAGA's No More Forever Wars pledge?
John Ruddock could be so sad.
Yeah, I know. So many people
much.
They'll be involved in another war again. Jesus
at least
Christ,
it's not
it really
Harris,
hasn't
though.
stopped.
Yeah.
It's an incredibly unpopular war in America. Gulf Wars 1 and 2, Gulf War 1 was done and dusted fairly quickly with the Kurds and the Shia Iraqis in the south being fed to the lions, so to speak. And Gulf War II, of course, went tits up. But in the initial stages, these were very, very popular with Americans. An early poll not long after the February 26th, I think it was, February 26th attacks, found around only a quarter of Americans support this war. Less than 50% of Republicans support the war. That was in an early poll. You've got another one there, Joe?
Yeah, so things have changed a little bit. Quinnipiac University poll taken over the weekend found 53% of voters oppose the military action in Iran and just 40% support it. That's Trumpy numbers. And looking along party lines, though, we've got 89% of Democrats saying nah, and 60% of independents opposing the strikes, and 85% of Republicans supporting them.
It's big numbers. It's big numbers on the independence side of things, and yeah, that's just to explain. I've probably done this and you're probably sick of listening to it. Around 40% of voter registrants are independents. They're big. They're the biggest group between the three. You know, the GOP, the Dems, and independent voters who are not aligned to either party. They make up 40% of the vote, technically. Quinnipiac polls tend to reflect a more conservative voice in America. I think it's not the best polling company, is what I'm trying to say.
Yeah, that's fair enough.
And the figure may be a lot worse. But these are, as I say, early days, and with no objective, no strategic objective, or and every time the Iranians threaten to do bad things, Trump says, "Well, we'll hit you even harder."
Yeah.
Well, what do you mean? You're keeping shit back?
Yeah, like what are you doing?
What do you mean you're half-assing it at the moment?
We're going to lob those lobster skins at you, and they're going to smell real bad. Hegseth's got shitloads of just like half-eaten claws. We're just going to throw them at you. It's going to stink. You guys are going to hate this.
Yeah, not as much as Trump's body, though.
No, don't enter a room with him.
And let's just bow our heads and contemplate very quickly the Secret Service officer or agent who was known as the Wiper.
Oh my God!
What a job, eh?
What a job! Yeah. So
Jesus Christ.
It could get a lot worse. Nothing bad has really happened yet per se to the Yanks. It hasn't become a forever war yet. It's easy. They just bail, no worries. Just chuck a Venezuela. Don't worry about it. But let's move on to this. So in relation to terror attacks, said poll in the Quinnipiac poll said that 77% believed a terrorist attack is more likely now than had the US not begun war in Iran. Now, if that became 100% because one happened,
it's a big number. It's a big number, and it's a fairly obvious conclusion to draw.
It's a fucking reasonable thing to think, yeah. So, yeah, not loving that. I worry this might be the case in Australia as well. To be quite honest, this is something I've been thinking about. The idea of these sort of Iranian sleeper cells, I mean, we've already had this with the synagogue and the caravan or whatever. Yeah. Well, actually, no, the caravan was a bit whatever. But, like, look, there'll be Iranians out there living fairly normal lives, or at least radicalized individuals who are just waiting to be activated in a time of war. That, to me, doesn't seem very far-fetched. That's not movie shit to me. That seems pretty reasonable. But I must say, one of the things that I think is the main difference between Australia and the US right now as far as targets go and as far as likely places for a terrorist attack is that, like, one of them, of course, is the face of the war, of course. So, like, you attack America, it's a clear kickback on the war, and it's a clear kick in Trump's nuts.
Yes.
But our immediate support for the conflict has definitely put us on, like, the leaderboard for places to fuck with. And surely we've got people hanging around with some thoughts. But look, we also haven't fired all of our intelligence analysts and replaced them with fucking podcasters and Heritage Foundation dude bro Hitler youth types. So, like...
It is probably worth reminding our patrons that the man in charge of counterterrorism in the United States, what is he, a 23-year-old guy who used to...
work at a grocery store.
Yeah, he used to stack shelves in a supermarket.
Shows pluck. But, like, yeah, I think he's got, a degree in something. But he's a Heritage Foundation stooge.
Something. Well,
it's insane.
Well, that makes me feel a lot better.
I know. I mean, like, I really just don't know. It's basically just one of, like, the Doge kid type things. Probably kind of bright, but insanely out of his depth. So, he's probably really good at tweeting, and that's probably what got him the job. So, look, I would not have said this a few years ago, maybe a year ago, but I'd put my money on Asia over the FBI and CIA and the American intelligence apparatus any day of the week right now. And that's weird because it's kind of insane. They are obviously, like, outside of Israel, like, the best, well, England maybe, best intelligence gathering and sharing country in the world, and it's just not anymore. They just fucked it. But we'll see how it goes in practice. But if you look at the sort of, like, Trump, Elon, and Hegseth triangle of nonsense, just gutting the security apparatus and just making a complete piss take of the US government, I mean, we're going to elaborate on the whole sort of terrorist possibility later, but
it's not good.
It's worrying.
We are, America is kind of wide open at the moment. I mean, and just while you talk about Australia, I don't want to alarm people, but I just simply ask the question: what's more likely, a strike, a terrorist attack in Spain or Australia?
Yeah, especially considering, like I say, we're like the first cab off the rank.
Yeah, well, Spain said no, and the EU said no. So you would think, I mean, look, terrorists are opportunists, so they're going to strike where perhaps there are greater vulnerabilities. But
and the biggest statement, like
Australia's definitely in the frame.
Oh, definitely. But like I say, like, US is the biggest statement, and the US sort of somewhat ironically has the biggest gaping security holes because basically, when it comes to investigating terrorism, they're going to be like, I know we are investigating terrorism. Antifa. What are you talking about? Of course we are. We have guys in all colleges right now investigating Antifa terrorists. We've got this under control. And you're like, you are an idiot. And you're going to get blown up. Okay.
Yeah, it's not good. I mean,
No, it's not good.
we'll just go back to the first question. No more forever wars. Whatever happened to that? I mean, J.D. Vance, who was a long-standing critic of Trump, but also a long-standing critic of previous administrations, that had supported these rather pointless wars in the Middle East and elsewhere. And J.D. Vance has essentially been sent to Coventry right now. I mean,
He's been quiet.
And completely turned his back on his previous assertions. Hasn't got so much to say about that. But when we see J.D. Vance now, he's never really in the company of anyone influential. And when Trump is making statements, he's got Rubio and Hegseth behind him. So
Maybe they're isolating him for a later run, but I don't know.
I don't think so. I actually think that Trump quietly despises. This is
probably does.
Anthony Scaramucci, but for what it's worth. But he thinks that Trump absolutely despises J.D. Vance, and I think I said it in our last Black Label. But the Mooch reckons Trump would actually like to see a Democrat win in 2028 because then he can turn around to the GOP and say, "Without me, you're nothing."
Yeah. What an ultimate power play that would be. What a complete piece of shit. Just insane. Yeah, so look, I don't really see how this war ends without some kind of exit strategy, and I don't think exit strategy is something that Hegseth knows about. He would have to look it up in a dictionary, and then he would scratch his head and start crying. And then
he probably thinks it's some sort of pornography. It's got an X in it.
That's really good exit strategy. I like it. That's good. You've probably heard that before, you pornographer. And what will become of Iran when the bombing finally stops? Well, there will be some rubble and there will be some angry people who have maybe lost a few friends. It's going to be quite likely we're going to be dealing with a more hardline Iran, which is harder to deal with, less amenable to Obama-like negotiations. And its new leader, or supreme leader, because, supreme leader is with a lot. So, pineapple and pepperoni, Mojtaba Khamenei, is that how you say it?
Mojtaba, Mojtaba. I think that J is like a Y, but I could be wrong.
Yeah, Mojtaba, maybe.
Khamenei.
Yeah. I don't know. So he's the son of the dead supreme leader, and he's said to be wounded. So he's a bit sore. He's made no public appearances or televised speeches that we know of. So he hasn't really established his thing. He's just been declared. But he's also lost his mother, one child, and his wife to Israeli and US bombs. I'm sure he has not really made a delineation between the two. And look, I've always said this, Jack, the way to a man's heart is through the murder of his family. It's a good way to win hearts and minds. It's been working for years.
Ever since you killed my mum, I've had a complete turnaround. A complete change of heart.
I've come around to your way of thinking since you murdered most of my family, but only one kid, and maybe that was the kid he didn't like. So, who knows?
yeah.
Maybe it's really coming up Millhouse for him. He may have just disliked all those people, and God willed it. Do we think he'll be inclined to choose peace after all this? Ooh. I'm not sure, and I'm really not sure if he's going to follow in his father's footsteps and decide that nuclear weapons are still haram. They might suddenly become more compatible with the Islamic faith, just all of a sudden.
Yeah, look, the first thing to say about Mojtaba, if that, or Mojtaba, possibly.
If that is your real name.
Khamenei, if that is his real name, is that the stories around him as completely unconfirmed, that he might actually be in an ICU. And
he sounds quite sore. Everyone around him died.
Of being the supreme leader, but the Revolutionary Guard interfered with the selection process and said this one.
Oh, stitch up.
Because we like the color, we like the cut of his jib.
Yeah.
And so that's part of it. When we talk about exit strategies, what's available to the United States? Boots on the ground, quagmire, no. Bombing the hell out of Iran for a while, possibly, while the world goes mad and falls into a sort of oil deficit. But even if they say, all right, well, we've had enough of bombing and we're just going home now, what's to say the Iranians continue to look at the Strait of Hormuz as
a
something
hostage,
that they are
basically.
prepared to keep as a sort of chokehold on the world.
Yeah.
There's really nothing to stop that.
A smarter person would have thought about this.
More missiles. We did see, I think, 3 tankers have now been hit.
Oh, good.
My understanding is that they're still being insured, which is the big issue. I mean, the premiums wouldn't be cheap.
I heard they're not, but yeah. I heard
Not
Lloyd's of
especially
London
now.
just started saying no.
Including those that go through the Strait of Hormuz. So they're still insurable.
Are you sure about that?
Yeah, so I believe. I looked at a
Okay.
maritime industry magazine, which is probably only a couple of days old.
I think I'm listening
and
to
they're
podcasts.
saying, yes,
so-
it's still on.
Okay, there you go.
But there are, I think, not entirely sure, something like 40 or 50 tankers in the in and around the Emirates there that
Just hanging out.
are not proceeding. No, they're just not proceeding. They're not going forward, and that is because the owners are saying, "Well, I'm not going to put the cargo at risk, or I don't want to pay the insurance premium, or whatever it is." So not a lot of craft are getting through. I did see that of the 3 tankers that were struck, I don't think we're talking about significant damage, but we're talking about submarine drones, those sorts of things.
Oh, wow,
Incredibly
okay.
hard to stop.
That's fucked.
As the Ukrainians. The Ukrainians essentially wiped out the Russian Black Sea fleet with drones.
Submarine drones.
Submarine
Mega.
drones and power boats just loaded up with explosives that are just guided into Russian military craft.
Yeah,
naval
full
craft.
blown. That's so fucking hectic.
It's certainly a dangerous place to be.
Yeah.
And another concern is that, and this is according to the International Energy IEAA. We'll stick with that.
Yes.
The Atomic Agency, the Atomic Monitoring Agency, who said as of March, the Iranians still have a stockpile of approximately 10 tons of fissionable material. You could throw that all in the back of one lorry, I suppose, which includes 60% enriched uranium. There's around about 450 kilograms of that. And this level of enrichment is technically close to the 90% enrichment level typically used for weapons-grade material.
Good.
There's another 20% of enriched uranium, or it's enriched to 20%, which is roughly a ton, for a total of enriched uranium in Iran of approximately 10 tons.
Good.
Which includes uranium enriched to lower levels such as 3.67. Now, if we're thinking about terrorism and dirty bombs, it's not really that sort of material that would be used. Well, they could, but the sheer size of an explosive device to essentially create the radioactivity through uranium is just not there, or it would just be an enormous bomb with the size of a car. But more likely, Joel, is that the use of other radioactive substances.
Yeah, so we have radioactive substances that are more suitable for a dirty bomb, and those that are highly radioactive and surprisingly easier to get. So they're more common in medical or industrial settings, where security might be less stringent than a nuclear facility, and that's not great. So, and the dirty bomb thing, oh my God, I remember the dirty bomb thing back in the day. Oh, the hysteria. So these materials include cesium-137, which is used in cancer therapy and oil well logging.
Ooh.
Whatever the fuck that is.
If it's used in oil wells, I'm pretty sure the Iranians have got some.
Yeah, I would imagine so. There's cobalt-60, which is used for cancer therapy and industrial radiography. Fair enough. Which is, of course, medical use is one of the reasons why they argue they should have a nuclear program. You've got iridium-192, which is used in industrial radiography and medical implants. Fair enough. Strontium-90, which is used in radioisotope thermoelectric generators. And then this unfortunately named element, americium.
Americium. God bless Americium.
So this is used in industrial gauges and smoke detectors. Now, I'm going to give you a little bit of an insight into my life. Oh, my God. I'm planning to release the first 30 minutes of this to the public, and we're at 24 minutes. I feel like, fuck it. So, like, there was a teacher in my primary school who was very, very hardline discipline-wise, and, of course, that made me very upset. And what I wanted to do was get a smoke detector and attach a soda bowl bomb to the smoke detector and blow it up outside his house.
Right there.
like a literal dirty bomb. I obviously never did this. It's completely insane. And let's face it, there'd be trace elements in it which would go nowhere.
You'd be still in jail.
I thought about making a dirty bomb to fuck up one of my the adversaries, and this was an adversary in primary school, so I must have been like 11. So fucked in the head.
I think the
God.
lesson here, patrons, is don't cross Joel.
Yeah, don't piss me off. I'm way older and I'm way better resourced. Do you know how many smoke pickers I have on hand? A lot.
He'll kill you. He'll kill you for a half-life of 250,000 years.
If you put no hat, no play anywhere near me, I'll fuck you up. That's a warning, Mr. Richmond.
We mentioned this before, but of course the Islamic regime has sent out coded messages to regime stalwarts around the world, or sleeper cells, as Joel called them. This is according to the LA Times.
They are sleepy people. So, according to LA Times, federal authorities detected mysterious encoded radio broadcasts potentially aimed at sleeper cells on US soil after the February 28th killing of Iran's supreme leader, alarming counterterrorism officials. And by alarming, I mean going, bro, what? Iran has repeatedly tried to hire assassins targeting US officials and now faces escalating military strikes, prompting fears the desperate government could act violently. Those fears are prompted. LA police warned that lone wolves, inspired by Iranian rhetoric, pose a threat given the region's 700,000 Iranian Americans, the largest population outside Iran.
Yes, as the Chinese proverb goes, we are lucky to be living in. How's it go again?
I hope you live in interesting times.
And living in interesting times.
Someone
So
mentioned that on the ship posting site today.
No, it's okay. Yes,
a good poster I like very much. Can't remember your name right now.
We live in. We are. I think that is. We are doomed to live, or is it doomed, or we are
I
cursed?
think it was.
We are cursed to live in interesting times. I think that's how it works.
Yeah.
But these are probably not interesting times. These are dangerous times, and worse when a weak fool's in the White House.
Yes, they are concerning.
Like
also,
there's no immediate exit strategy. There's no possibility of a negotiated solution. The Iranians, Trump has reached out to them, and the Iranian regime has just said, "Nah, you know what? We don't want to talk no more. You killed my pa."
Yeah, pretty much. Yeah, exactly. We are seeing,
but that's we're just in a dangerous thing
in the US.
So when you think about what are their objectives,
no, you tried to kill my dad.
What are the American objectives? To we heard
distraction from the Epstein files.
Well, there is that, but so the American objectives somehow have become entwined in the Israeli objectives. I understand the Israeli objectives are to basically destroy Iran's military capacity and that of its proxies like Hamas and Hezbollah and the various militia. I can understand that's Israel's objective.
Mm-hmm.
It's the same objective for America, where ballistic missiles that Iran has are not going to reach American territory.
Well, there's actually been talk about drones arriving in California, and Newsom's getting ready for that, but we haven't written that into the script. But that's a recent concern.
Look, all of that's, I guess, technically possible, but it is a completely different set of objectives to Israel's. Israel's, you can understand the sort of self-protective objective there.
Yes,
they would like to see Iran and its proxies destroyed.
Yeah, or weakened at the very least.
What's in it for the States? What's in it for the US?
Yeah, it's
and how do they get out of this?
Yeah, and it also challenges the idea that Trump is sort of like a Russian puppet, which has always been one of those things. The whatever his bloody Russian nickname was. Can't remember, Agent Krush something or something. I don't know, but
Agent Orange.
Yeah, I know, right? But yeah, like basically, it's difficult to think that he's working in Putin's best interests when he's doing this to Iran, which is where they're getting the drones. So yeah, it's one of those things where like whenever you try and say what Trump is actually thinking or doing, also like all this money that Qatar and the Emirates have given Trump through dodgy cryptocurrency corruption, things like that, they must be feeling very fucking ripped off right now. Because they'd be reaching out to him saying, please don't attack Iran. It might work out bad for them. And it has worked out terribly for them. And he just doesn't seem to give a fuck. So I don't know, man. Wild card. It's really hard to understand what, a couple of $1 billion buys you with Trump.
Yeah.
Crazy shit.
It won't be. You might have a bit of a stake in the rebuild of Gaza, but
Yeah, I guess
the
so,
Israelis and the Americans are at each other over that. Netanyahu doesn't like this idea of pay $1 billion and get to push Gazans around.
Yeah. You should be able to do that for free.
That's right. That's right. Sorry,
Fucking hell.
shouldn't be laughing. This is
No.
really dark humour,
It
folks.
is very dark humour.
But yeah, impossible to see what the American objective is, and further how they get out, and what will happen when they do. Because the Iranians are going to say, if you leave in a month, let's say, there's enormous political pressure. Price of oil goes through the roof. It's above $100 today. Again, it reached that sort of threshold last week, I think, $1.15, and then went down because Trump said, this war will be over soon. And then a day later goes, look, we're just going to hit them harder.
There's been complications, yes.
And so, we have this, where markets, big, powerful things like markets are actually listening to this guy and responding to comments that he makes that can change in 24 hours.
Yeah, and it can be based on nothing, which is the insane shit of the current White House. Just
really dangerous situation, folks. Keep your heads down and look after yourselves. And we feel, of course, for all the people of the Middle East, and particularly the Iranians who are not regime aligned and
they've had a fucking
are living
terrible
very,
everything.
very difficult lives at the moment.
Yeah, we're very lucky to live here away from all that shit.
And God bless the Iranian. Well, God bless the Australian government for pulling the 5 Iranian members of the women's soccer team out.
True.
And I believe there are a number of others in the support staff and I think other
one
people,
of them got denied, but he's apparently aligned with the regime. They were like, "Oh, mate, I'm sorry."
Can I come in? I'm an explosives expert.
You're a bit of a dick, though. That's the problem.
And look, yes, there'll need to be proper scrutiny, but all that sort of stuff. I think incredibly brave of those 5 players, including the captain, to do this because their families are at risk.
They're very strongly at risk as fuck.
But look, I guess the decision was made for them because when they played against South Korea, they stood tall while the Iranian anthem was playing, but they weren't singing the song.
Yeah.
And this sort of caught the eye of the regime, who labelled them all traitors and cowards, who'll get what's coming when they get back to Tehran.